Welcome to this video where we're going to look at civil tactical visual approaches in Iraq, something quite rare, a 12.07 degree visual approach. A tactical visual approach is very different, and the typical threat that you're trying to avoid is a ground-to-air attack. Here is the visual approach into Baghdad. Just note 10 miles, target altitude 13,000. 6 miles, 8,000, 2 miles, 3,000. All those heights are above the ground. Looking at 13,000 feet, 10 miles away from the airport, equates to a 12.07 degree approach. What is unusual is that the pilots are configuring the airplane in landing configuration at 14,000 feet, something that is normally done around 1,500 feet above the ground. The main reason for the early configuration is to create as much drag as possible in order to allow the airplane to follow the 12-degree path without accelerating. Another reason is to allow the pilots concentrate on both flying the path and looking out. In this still shot at 1,500 feet, notice the vertical speed indication of more than 3,500 feet per minute. This type of flying pushes the airplane to its limit. And if you can ignore for a second why there is a need to fly tactical, most pilots would probably enjoy it. There is, of course, a serious side to it, and personally I decided that it was not worth the risk. I also think that you need to consider how this type of flying might be looked at by a future employer. And welcome to Baghdad. And here we are, actually quite close to passing the threshold. This approach is into Basra, and here we get another look at what the tactical visual approach looks like from the pilot's seats. Once again, descent rates more than 3,500 feet a minute, and it is actually quite painful for the ears when you descend with that kind of speed. This is probably the most risky part of the approach, where you are converting a high descent rate into the flare. So what you're trying to do is adding a lot of power to avoid a stall. The last approach is a circling tactical approach, which is used if a straight-in landing is considered too risky. The customer was an American oil company who needed daily flights between Kuwait, Baghdad, Kirkuk and Basra to support the rebuilding of the Iraqi oil system. Sometimes American military personnel would be joining us, or we would be asked to operate special medical evacuation flights. In 2004, the airspace in Iraq was military controlled and subject to special procedures which for security reasons cannot be further shared. Unfortunately, we did experience ground-to-air attacks, but fortunately, the worst damages to our passengers was severe ear pain from the steep descent rates. While this flying, from a handling point of view, was some of the most rewarding, the risks involved are high, and before you ever try any flying like this, ensure you have the proper training and authority approvals to keep you safe. So the next thing I'd like to show you is what a takeoff then looks like. It's called a tactical takeoff, and the idea is to get away from the ground to avoid small arms fire. So the procedure involves holding the airplane on the brakes until the maximum power is set, and the reason why you want to do that is that you want to have maximum acceleration down the runway. Once you get to a speed where you can rotate the airplane, instead of just climbing out as we normally do, you would keep in the ground effect, so quite close to the ground, retracting the gear. And then the idea is to build up as much as speed you can all the way down to the end of the runway before you pull up. You just need to be quite careful when you do this type of maneuver, because most likely you're above the max maneuvering speed, which means that there is a risk of stressing the airplane if you just pull back with all power. So there we go. We have a departure with more than 3,500 feet vertical speed. Thank you for watching. I hope you found the video inspiring, showing a rare type of civil operation, possibly the closest you can get to military flying in a civil airplane. Stay safe.